So, hello, and I'm here with Linda, Director of Communications for French Fluency, which, fancy job and very important job. And we're going to talk about some work that we did together, which was really cool. And we did have some really cool sessions together. So let's begin with, what was happening? Because there's always something going on that makes you even begin to think about working with someone like me.
Right. So what was going on was I had sort of hit this plateau with a lot of creative things in my life. So I was not progressing with my French learning at all. I was not progressing with the writing that I wanted to do. And my boss, Angel Preto, works with you and said to me, he kept saying to me all the time, you need to call Jackie, you need to call Jackie, you need to call Jackie. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to call Jackie. So I didn't really quite know what to expect, because he had spoken to me about what, kind of what his sessions were like. I mean, not in great detail, of course, but I still didn't really know what to expect or whether it would work. But I'm always very open to trying anything, even if it's, so-called unconventional, because I find that when I do that, a lot of the times that becomes my go-to. That does become the thing that works the best. So I was really, willing and able to give this a whirl. So we did, I forget what you called it now, but we did a sort of it was so many, I think it was 5 sessions, but it was also built in with a writing prompt thing, which was perfect timing for what I was trying to get. And so what had been going on before that in my life was there was a lot of stuff from my childhood and my family that was coming up, that had been coming up for a few months. And what I didn't realize until we worked together was that a lot of that was what was creating the blocks all these years later, because I was still on some internal level listening to that shit, listening to that, and literally blocking myself from progressing because of what I had heard all those years ago. So I think the first session, it was like really intense for me and very powerful. We did the whole, go up through the top, through the layers, through the gel, everything up. And what was interesting to me was one of my spiritual guides showed up to help facilitate. It was like a facilitator. And I kind of feel like, maybe he or they, I don't know, saw that I was kind of having this, I wasn't hesitant so much as I was just sort of trying to figure out maybe what I needed to do. And and to make it work, kind of, and it sort of showed up to help that happen, to just be a familiar presence, maybe that would help me do that. And so we had I think 5 sessions, I think, and during each one I could feel that resistance disappearing, or sort of melting away around the edges, kind of like it was less intense each time. It was less quick to throw up so much strength. It was more, kind of there, sort of, oh yeah, you don't really want to do this, and then sort of by the end, there was very little of it left. It was still there, but it was almost more like a scar than anything else. I honestly do believe whatever things cause blocks like that, like you can't really ever quite make it go away. It's always going to have a sort of presence, but
Yeah, it's like you repurpose it.
right, exactly. You just figure out a way to make it work for you instead of against you. And so that's like what happened. And after that, I found that um my writing flowed better, my French improved, um, and I've even been able to like sort of use that technique of bringing myself up to the higher level of whatever when I do feel like there's like I need a boost. I'm able to do it myself,
Oh, cool.
which is cool. Yes, that's like the best thing.
Yeah, take the tools you can, right?
Yes, exactly. Like to use the tool. And yeah, I feel like it has really helped me so much.
Oh,
And I didn't really, I don't know that I really expected it to help as much as it did.
you
So
were so sensitive to it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember kind of like going through, kind of like, wow, and because normally like in the first session, I expect the resistance and the pushback
Hmm.
to be there, and so
Yeah.
it's just important to allow it to be there because it's just like people's minds trying to keep them safe, and if you like try and smash through that straight away, then
Right. You just bounce off. Yeah.
you either bounce off or the subconscious gets clever and it will make you think that you've like, oh wow,
That
look
you
at all
got
this change that you've made, but you haven't really changed anything because you've kind of like not made it safe.
right.
So yeah, I kind of, I always kind of go in with the expectation, like first session, yeah, not gonna do masses. And it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, we'll sit with the resistance. That's okay. Push against me, resist. That's fine. And then it's kind of like the subconscious is like, oh, that's okay. Huh, okay, well, you're all right then, aren't you? And then it will kind of like let you go in a bit, let you go in deeper to get to the child kind
Yeah.
of the teenage.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
quite, it was teenage, wasn't it? Yours was quite.
Yeah. Most of it was teenage. Yeah. Like 16, 17, that age. And that was when there was a lot of, yeah, just abuse and the reaction to the, my reaction to the abuse and which I didn't put together till last year, how I was internalizing protection issues with my mother, like feeling she should have protected me.
Mm,
But I didn't really get that until like last year. But I didn't put together that that was what was blocking all of this.
yeah,
Because again, it was all, drama from my mother with,
yeah,
you know, not trying to make me do things that she wanted me to do instead of things that I wanted to do.
yeah.
And that on some level, I was still trying to make her happy, like still trying to do that.
Yeah, still trying to seek that connection with,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, like
So yeah, it was interesting
yeah,
because I mean, before that, it was like sort of like, well, she's she's gone now. I can do whatever I want, which was my like conscious thinking, but subconsciously it was still like trying to
yeah.
make
We're
her
still
happy.
in
Yeah.
that moment in the past, still trying to make it happen, still
Yeah.
trying to, and
Still being like disappointed that I couldn't do what I want, but okay, ma, whatever. And yeah, so that was like a revelation to have that get put together, and that got put together in this package of sessions and writing. So that was really cool because
oh,
I do believe like unless you figure out what is causing your particular grief, like you can't fix it.
yeah, 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 and I think I was writing about that recently. It's kind of like if you don't, if you can't tell the truth of the problem, you can't
Hmm.
get the solution.
Right.
Kind of like,
And it's painful. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's painful to do it, but you have to, or it doesn't it just stays, and that's painful. So pick your
I
pain.
think, and I
The
think,
one that's going to go over with easy, or get over with quickly, or the one and that's going to push you through to another level of being able to do what you want, or the one that's just going to linger and be the
yeah, like, you know, I think that's it. It's kind of like none of us really want healing. Like none of us actually want to go through that process, but we want what you get at the end of it, which is
right. Exactly. I know plenty of people that will not go to any kind of therapy because they really don't want to face it. They just don't want to necessarily do the work and face it, and they understand, I think, on a subconscious level it's going to be painful and they just don't want to do it. But you're not going to get anything by not doing it, so
yeah.
suck it up, buttercup, do it.
And when you do it in a safe space, like, yeah, there is kind of emotional pain that comes up.
Yeah, and I understand also, because like I always have this issue too, is like, it's one thing to say, for someone to tell you it's a safe space. It's one thing for you to even experience it as a safe space. But because every other space in your universe is not a safe space, it is a little hard to kind of accept that this one is.
Yeah.
So it takes some doing also to get into where you can release, even though you know it's safe. It's just trying to understand that it's safe is a different thing.
Yeah, and I think, and that goes back to what I was saying about the protection, that kind of
yeah, because I had protection issues to begin with, so
yeah,
it was probably even worse.
Yeah, it's so important to let that resistance be there, so that, like, the resistance, those parts of your mind that are resisting, so they know it's safe. And it's kind of like,
I think it really wasn't until the third session that I really did feel that I was in a safe spot.
Yeah.
Because of that, I feel like it's always like it's like anything else. Like, you're so exposed and beaten down by this other thing that is always there, that when it's removed in a certain other area, you kind of don't recognize it, or you're distrustful of it, or you can't quite give yourself over to it because you don't really have the experience of that ever being real. So but yeah, once I could get in there and we worked together, it was fantastic. It was very, sort of eye-opening and incredibly useful, and just fixed so much of it that, like, yay, thank you.
You're so welcome, and thank you so much for, like, sharing your experience as well, to share with us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope other people will recognize that this could really help them and get on board, because it's kind of astonishing, to be honest.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.